Don't get the blues, get Liberty News at LCLReport. Stash your swagger, buy an ad at LCLReport. Jewelry shop till you drop at LCLReport.com.
Be sure to check out all my handmade jewelry at www.lclreport.com. Hi, this is Taryn Lupo with LCL Report. Today I'm going to talk to you about a more controversial topic than normal, which is immigration. Basically, why I don't think Mexicans are evil and why I think immigration can be good. Now, I ask you to watch the whole report before you beat me up in the comments, but you got to understand how governments work. All governments throughout time have done the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Romans and Christians or Germany and Jews or the Sudan or our country. We always have to make a bad guy boogeyman. And what will happen is the government will make a bad guy, and then it'll whip the citizens into such a frightened state or such a frenzy that the citizens will then give their rights on a platter to the government, and the government will take more control. So they'll do this for a while with one group of people, and then they'll create a new boogeyman and get more rights, and do a new boogeyman and get more rights. So I'm going to take you through a little walk of history of the U.S. here to show you just what's happened in our country. America has a fine tradition of hating people and discriminating, starting with the American Indians and systematic taking of their lands. Let's not forget that whole pesky Trail of Tears thing. And we use them, the hate against Indians, to take their land. And the Chinese immigration that came over was also another issue. People didn't like the Chinese, used them for cheap labor. And of course, when they came in, they were labeled as disease carriers and everything else. And everybody was diseased back then. Then let's not forget the Jews, who have been persecuted just about everywhere in the country. Poor Jewish people have been oppressed by just about every country I can think of at one time or another, including us here in the U.S. We haven't been so great to them either. Then there's that whole black slavery issue, where we took people out of their homes and land, brought them here to work, and then that, even after slavery ended, their racism still continues to this day. It's gotten a lot better. It's not as blatant as this was, but those are still issues out there, and a lot of bad feelings still linger around that. The next group is the Italians, which, of course, I have interest because I am Italian, and they were hated when they mass migrated over. And again, they were just like demonized like everyone else. They were disease-ridden and good for nothing. And they couldn't get a job. They had to actually have their own employment agencies because no other people except other Italians would hire them. And then there's what we did to the Japanese. During World War II, because the country was so frightened of Japan, we took Japanese Americans, took their land away, everything they owned, and stuck them into concentration camps in America. And let's not forget the history of the women's suffrage movement and how women were treated as second-class citizens and demonized as well. And to this day, they still have problems getting equal treatment. Then the Red Scare, which allowed civil rights to go right out the window. If you called someone a communist, you could pretty much be thrown in jail, dragged to court, and all sorts of bad things by just crying communist. We had the Irish. They came over, and just like the Italians, they were treated poorly in slums, and don't even try to get a job if you're Irish, because no one would hire you but other Irish. Then we went and hate the Muslims and all the Middle Easterners and the Indians, and we kind of lumped them all together. And just because some were terrorists, we called every Muslim a terrorist. And then we get to the newest boogeyman, which is the Mexicans. Now, here's what I really wanted to focus on. Currently, our government has really pushed the immigration scare of Mexicans. That we are losing our culture, that they're dangerous here. that we need internal checkpoints so you can show your papers and prove you're a citizen. We can interfere with people's work to prove that they're not hiring illegals. All those sort of things, the government loves that kind of power. Now, we could sit and argue for hours about the nuances of why you think immigration is dangerous. But a lot of times, one major thing's overlooked that would solve all the other issues. You have to ask yourself one big question. Do you just not like brown people or Mexicans or any other culture coming over to America because you just don't like that? Or do you hate the idea that they're coming over and getting a free ride on your dollar? That you're paying for them to go to school and hospitals and child care, all those other things. Well, if you answered the latter, you don't have an immigration problem, you have a welfare problem. And I agree with you. Welfare is evil. I mean, the idea that you can take money from one group of people, take it by force, and give it to another group of people that you deem more needy is an evil idea. You're stealing money from one group and giving it to another. It doesn't matter how great the issue is. I mean, you could be stealing people's money because you want to help homeless children with cancer and raise three-legged blind dogs. It doesn't matter how great the reason is. It is still stealing, and it's wrong. So, we can either get mad about the Mexicans coming over and all these other problems you're thinking go with that, or we can ignore that whole racist distraction and go for the root of the cause, which is welfare. You see, nobody would be immigrating over if there wasn't a free ride here. It's like trying to trap cats instead of just removing the bowl of milk. Stray cats are going to keep coming around if there's free milk. Doesn't matter how many times you remove the cats. Take away the bowl of milk. You see, if you got rid of all the freebies, and I'm not just talking about just for Mexicans, I'm talking about ending welfare completely across the board. What would happen would the only immigrants you would get are the ones that would come over, work their butts off, and try to make a better life for their family. And those are the immigrants we can all want. Those are people that work hard, and I want those people. So I think the immigration can be good if you get rid of the welfare. So don't be distracted by all this rhetoric going on. Always tune back over and focus that if we took care of the root of the cause, we wouldn't have all these other problems. So think about that next time people start building a fervor up and we give away our civil liberties on a platter to our government, because that's what it's about. That's why they do this. Think about that and instead focus on ending welfare. If you put that much effort instead of building some crazy fence that's not going to work into ending welfare, it would solve all these problems in one shot. So feel free to beat me up in the comments section all you like.
This land is my land. This land is my land. Take all the Mexicans and throw them on some island. If they speak Spanish, they must be banished. This land was made for only me. This is a nation based on immigration, yet still I don't sanction language translation. English should be the first language of the universe, because I'm white and they're brownies. Everybody, this land is my land. This land is my land. Take all the Mexicans and throw them on some island. If they speak Spanish, they should be